Hey man, I just woke up. I'm trying to eat something here, but I'm having a lot of trouble. I also tried to do my morning routine of practicing my Spanish, specifically doing my Anki. That's what I always do first. And I could not focus. I was trying my absolute best to focus, and for whatever reason, my brain just was not letting me. And if I had to guess, as to the reason why, it probably has something to do with this constant stress I'm facing in the wake of this breakup. I used to wake up every day, and the first thing I would do was message her about how I intended to study throughout the rest of that day. And then she would respond about how she was going to do the same thing. And it was this sort of positively reinforcing relationship in that way because, she would do her Japanese, I would do my Spanish and the other languages. And for pretty much our entire day, we would do that until we would get to reward ourselves by talking to one another, near the end of the day. And then sometimes we would study as a group, so we'd both get into a call and not say very much, just, both study our own things. It was really nice, right? It was really nice to be able to have that. And since I don't have that anymore, I think maybe to an extent I lack the same direction. But I also, before I even knew this girl, I was studying Spanish every day consistently. So it's not as if, you know, talking to her just suddenly made me highly motivated to do it. I was already highly motivating, putting in many hours of each of my days prior to meeting her. But I think, since becoming close with her, I found it within myself, an even more motivation and even more focus that I didn't previously have. And it really turbocharged my executive functioning abilities. And I'm someone who's always had a high amount of executive functioning. I'm someone who's always been able to study for long amounts of time, read for long amounts of time, and continue to be able to understand it and have the cognitive stamina to keep going afterward. And that's helped me a lot over the years in various things, as you can imagine. But when I'm stressed and distraught and emotionally devastated, it's so hard to bring out that part of myself that's highly motivated, that's driven, that can focus, that can, see the future clearly. And it sucks, right? It's like my cognitive abilities degrade when I'm going through something like this, when I'm going through this kind of emotional turmoil in the wake of a breakup. And I know it'll end eventually. I know I don't have to deal with this forever, but it's kind of sickening for me, right? Like it makes you sick to your stomach going through something like this. I just want it to end. Um, I want to go back to doing what I'm, used to doing because you're not going to find me sitting around playing video games all day. Hell no. I'm not going to do that. I gave myself a day to mostly listen to music. Thankfully, some of the music was in Spanish, so I got some input in that respect. But I spent a lot of that day listening to music because I didn't have sleep the prior night. I was so distraught and upset. Like I tried to study to focus on my work and I just couldn't. I'd always be brought back to that place where I was upset about how the relationship went and how it ended, and just about the whole feeling of of surprise and betrayal and all of the multifaceted emotions I was facing. Um, and it's like it's so strange because I feel as though, even if I were to, completely move past this like tomorrow, I don't think I could have the same kind of friendship with her as I had with her when I was in a relationship with her. I don't think that's physically possible. Just because on principle, it's like I felt so violated by that event and also, by how she responded to it afterwards that like it would almost feel like I'm doing a disservice to myself if I were to treat the friendship in the same way that I used to, if I were to interact with her on the same terms, um, rather than just saying a few things in passing every now and again. I think, like, fundamentally speaking, that is just something that can never be recovered. Like, it's gone forever, right? Um, and it's not as if I can't be friends with her again at some point, but I don't want to see her for a long time, for a long time. And after I have gotten over this, it's not going to be the same. And partially that's to do with emotions. On another level, it's to do with principles, right? It's just, how your mind changes about someone in the wake of a tragedy like this. Um, and I call it that not because there's anything unique about one person leaving another, but because of the specific way in which it occurred and the fallout thereafter. Um, I've been doing a little writing. I don't know how many of you follow my blog, but I posted some poems on there. I have some other poems that I have not posted on there that I wrote nonetheless. Um, and I've been enjoying that. I'm thinking of writing like a bigger post, either, a research-based post or one that is more autobiographical. And I may end up converting one or the other into a YouTube video, who knows? But I think perhaps I need to pursue other things right now, that maybe the language study is just not something I can lock in that well on. I do, however, want to continue doing at least a little bit every day, because you have to do it every day. That is a rule, right? You need to have that consistency, um, to cement the habit. That isn't to say that there isn't, you know, there's no shame in needing to take a break or moving on to another language for a week or two and then coming back to your primary target language. There's no shame in that. But me personally, like, I would prefer to do as much as I can, um, to uh, to try as hard as I can, to keep the consistency and to keep the flame lit, so to say. I carry that flame within my heart, and I would never want to see it go out. But it is hard, right? It is hard what I am facing right now. That doesn't make me, uniquely, I don't want to use a term as cringeworthy as this, but victimized or any silly thing like that. But it does mean that I'm going through something right now. And I can't wait for it to come to pass. But as of right now, it makes it really hard to do the things that I love to do. I find myself questioning, why I ought to even do the things that I love to do when, things as basic as eating, you know, um, drinking water, whatever, don't feel pleasurable for me right now. It's like nothing feels pleasurable for me right now. I've had a couple moments of joy where I spoke in Spanish to someone else, or I thought about a grammatical concept or history or something like this, and I felt myself smiling. I felt happy in that moment. And then very quickly, the moment dissipated into thin air and it was gone. And I went back to my empty, uh, sad, lonely black hole. And the state of mind that I was in thereafter really really did not do me well. So um, I'm going through it right now, but that's not a reason to give up. You have to keep trying, even if those each successive try results in failure. You have to try again. And I know that my input, my output, all of this is not as effective right now as it normally would be because of the mental state that I'm in. But that just means that after each of these failures, I have to try again, right? Because if I didn't get it right, it's no excuse not to continue going. So I'm having trouble, putting myself to task, but I know after this video is done recording, I will immediately go back to doing what I was doing and trying again and again and again until I get it. Because there's no alternative, or right, there's no other option. This is my goal. This is what I care about doing. And even though I'm having trouble enjoying things, broadly speaking, right now, and I mean everything, that doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy doing this at one point. Very recently I did. And I've always enjoyed doing this sort of thing. So, that person is still inside me. They didn't just suddenly disappear because I went through a breakup. But it is to say that it's going to take some working to bring them out again. It's going to take some working to get all of this stuff inside of myself in proper order once again. And, I hope some fellow language learners contact me on Discord so that I can, try to motivate them and they can try to motivate me, because the community angle of this is really important for me, right? Like, I like being surrounded with people that are motivated and determined and working on something, right? It's one of the reasons I enjoyed my old group chat so much that I had with her. But of course, I left it because of the fallout of this breakup. And I'm not going back there again because I don't want to be reminded of those memories. Um, it's not for me. So um, I don't want to say I can't focus, because even just articulating a problem in that way, saying words like I can't, you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're denying that you have agency, and you're denying that you can move that mental block, that mental blockade. You can just ram through it, if you try hard enough. And so I have to try harder. It's never an excuse. You going through something is never an excuse, right? You still have to be able to do it. And it's important to remember that, even if you don't feel like it, it's true, right? Um, so I got to keep trying, nevertheless. Um, Trying to remember if there's anything else I'm saying. I'm in such a frazzled state of mind from the bad sleep and everything that's going on, really. Um, what else did I want to say? Uh, I don't think I remember, to be honest with you. Oh, that's a shame. Oh yeah, I remember now. So, you have to be very careful about how you talk about yourself or reality, because the things that we say create the reality around us. So if I were to say, you know, I can't do this, I can't do that, I am creating a reality in which that is the case, because I am assigning those beliefs to myself, right? They start to become intuitive or subconscious because you say it enough times. It's like how people say a lie said enough times becomes the truth. It's one of those kinds of things. So you have to be particular about the language you use, or else you run the risk of clouding your own judgment and creating a false reality. Um, but if you believe it's possible that you can do it, then you will be able to do it. Generally speaking, right? I'm not talking about doing quantum physics over here or something. I'm talking about learning a language, which is something that, you know, even people with fucking 70 IQs have been able to do, right? In certain parts of the world, you see people who are definitely not intelligent, but they speak 4 or 5 languages simply because they're exposed to it. And you can expose yourself to a language in the same regard. I've known people who have definitely fried their brain with drugs. Like, I'm talking like several years they were using highly neurotoxic drugs and they still learned a language, right? So if we were talking about nuclear physics or something, like, yeah, maybe depending on your genetics and a bunch of other factors, maybe you're not going to be able to do that. But a language you can definitely learn. There's no excuse to not learn a language. Um, it's not even hard. It's like most of it is just consistency, which is at this particular moment, what I'm struggling with, but I'm still being at least a little consistent, even, in the midst of all of this emotional turmoil. So nobody has any fucking excuse, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to keep trying. I'm just going to try to put my mind into it the best I can. Um, I'll see you all later. You like my shirt, by the way? It says Nazi punks fuck off. Fuck Nazis, man.